In this module, we're going to talk about how sellers price their home. It's important to understand when you start looking at houses why you're seeing similar houses with a huge variation in prices. And it's just the mentality of the seller that's putting that house on the market. And by looking at the price, you're kind of getting into the seller's head and mindset to understand how serious the seller is about selling. Or when you're writing an offer and you're going through the transaction, how easy this is going to be to go through this transaction with the seller. So first we're going to start with the overpriced homes. We've all seen them. 10-20% over market value. Again, we're going to use example 300,000. All of a sudden this guy has a house on the market for 360,000, and everything you've been looking at very similar to this is between 290 and 305. All of a sudden this one comes up at 360. So at first you're thinking, well, why is it worth 360? Let me look at the pictures, let me go through and read the description and stuff. But you're kind of sitting there scratching your head and you just can't wrap your mind around why this person is thinking this house is worth 360,000. Couple of things. The seller could just be fishing, and they're just trying to find if somebody will give them this money for the house. The seller went in with the mindset that they don't know anything about real estate, but for whatever reason they feel this is what their house is worth. So they probably interviewed a few real estate agents and said, hey, what do you think? I want to sell my house for 360,000. And it's a funny thing, but it's not a funny thing, right? You've got to be honest when you're going in and you're trying to represent somebody and you're trying to earn their business. And most of the agents will come in and they'll do a market analysis and they'll say this is what your house is worth based on the amenities that it has, the location that it's in, and what other houses similar to it have been selling for. So most of the agents are going to come in and say your house is worth 305, 3075. This is what we can get for your house. 360 is too much. We can't get it. But there's a great chance that you're going to have at least one agent that comes in and says, oh yeah, I can get you 360,000 based on these sales. And they're going to show them something that is probably more than 2 miles away from that house. A fixed set of comps that tells that seller what they want to believe. So an agent comes in and says, I can get you the 360. And the seller says, okay, great, that's what I wanted. I don't know why these other knuckleheads said I couldn't get it. I'm glad. Let's go ahead. I'm going to have you list the house. So what that agent did is actually buy that listing. They bought that listing by telling the seller, I can sell it for what you want me to sell it to. Now, there's a phrase in the industry that says, I can't get the seller to lower his price unless I'm representing that seller. So that's the mentality of that agent going into this is, I know I can't sell it for 360, but we'll let it sit on the market for a month, and then I'll start talking to them about, hey, you know what, we really got to reduce the price here. We got to reduce the price here. And what's going to happen? That house is going to sit on the market. A house sitting on the market gets shelf worn. People start to wonder, what's wrong with this house that has been sitting on the market not selling? It's not a good thing. And by the time you get that house down to the $300,000, $310,000 range that it needs to sell in, it may be 60, 90, 120 days down the line because the seller was fixed on selling the house for 360. So the agent's working on him, hey, let's get a reduction, let's get a reduction. And by the time it gets there, he may have lost so much of the buyer pool, there's not enough interest on it. So if the house was worth 310 at the beginning, by the time he sells it, he might get 290 because he doesn't have the competing offers. So that's the overpriced seller. Slightly over. They might be over by 5%. They're just hoping for a premium on their home, and maybe they did some updating. Maybe they updated the kitchen where the other ones weren't really updated. They added value with that, perhaps something with the landscaping. Oftentimes people will put a new roof on a house and say, yeah, but mine has a new roof. When you're buying a house, you want it to have a roof. It doesn't need to be new. Obviously, you don't want one that's looking at it and you're going, I'm going to have to replace that in a year. But most of them don't fall on those two extremes. They fall in the middle. So a seller will see value in the fact they just put a new roof on the house last year. You as a buyer really don't see that value. So with those, that's just slightly overpriced. There's generally a reason why the seller's justifying that little bit extra money. If you're not seeing the value in what they're telling you they've added, then write the offer what you want, and just be honest with what they're seeing on that value and you're not seeing. The next one are the sellers at fair market value. These are the ones that listened to the agents. They looked at the market analysis and they said, okay, let's do it. I realize that based on everything you gave me, this house is going to sell right in the neighborhood of $300,000. Let's list it at $300,000. Those houses are going to get a lot of attention, and they're probably going to sell within 2 weeks. So and that's any market, a seller's market, a buyer's market, it doesn't matter. Something that's advertised at fair market value, where everybody sees the value in that price, it's going to sell fast. So expect those to go 7 to 14 days. Again, fair market value, they looked at the analysis, just like you would when you're making an offer. You want to know that you're paying a fair price for the house and you're not overpaying. That's what they're seeing. So really, in that situation, you guys are seeing the same market analysis with the same values, and it's real easy to come to an agreement and go, yeah, I'll give you this much money. The last one is ones that come in below fair market value. Now, this is a seller that's motivated to get the house sold. They may take less for the house. Will they take a lot less? Probably not. But they're going to advertise a $300,000 house, and they're going to say, let's put it out there at $275,000. The reason is they want the house sold quickly. They want an escrow quickly. So at $275,000, you know this house has been in the $300,000 range of every other house you're looking at, and all of a sudden here's one at $275,000. What emotion is that going to evoke in you? You're going to want to get out there and see that house as quick as possible. Well, a dozen other buyers are thinking the same thing. So from a seller standpoint, the seller's going to get multiple offers. You can guarantee it. And this is a house that's going to go into escrow probably within 3 to 5 days, less than 7, because it's going to have so much attention. And again, in any market, seller's market, buyer's market, this one's going to garner a lot of attention. It's going to have many offers. And you may have multiple offers at $275,000. You're coming in and you see that the analysis says this house is worth $300,000, and you get in there and it's just beautiful. It's everything that you wanted. Chances are you're going to offer $300,000. You know that that's what that house is worth. Or maybe you'll come in at just under at $295,000. The seller's still going to be good with that. But is the seller going to sell it at $275,000? Doubtful, because he's going to have so many offers on it that he doesn't have to. So that's definitely something that you want to keep in mind. These 4 stages of how the price is set on those houses is definitely giving you a reading on what kind of seller you're dealing with. Both ends of the spectrum. Watch the one that wants $360,000, because he would be a difficult person to deal with throughout the transaction. When you're buying the house at $310,000, he's going to feel like he's losing something. On the ones that are coming in way under market value at $275,000, they're looking for a fast sale. They want it in escrow quickly. Don't go in with the mindset that you're going to steal this house at $275,000. If you know the house is worth $300,000, write a winning offer, beat out everybody else, and come in at $300,000. You're happy to pay the $300,000. Obviously, the seller's happy to get it, and that's a win-win. So pay attention to those 4 things. We'll see you in the next module.